If somebody is operating in self-preservation, it is a sign that they have a lot of developing to do to become a leader. When you think about leading by example, this is what leading by example is. It's not just about what you do. Leadership by example is about who you are. And this is something that I think people misunderstand. Now, leadership by example sometimes is exactly what you do, right? Like in some cases, you need to model exactly what to do. That is a part of it. But there's a higher level of this, which represents the difference between self-centered leaders and service-centered leaders, which we put together here into this little chart here, self-centered versus service-centered. So when you separate out just like the leading by example and actually showing people what to do, which is always a good thing, when you look at it through the lens of who you are, here's the challenge: is that self-centered leaders try to be right. And that again is part of the evolution, because it's like we're trying to advance, we're trying to promote, we're trying to get better as a performer. But when we say what got you here as a performer won't get you there as a leader, it's because there's a shift that needs to happen. Service-centered leaders, they're not trying to be right, they're trying to do right. It's not about who's right, it's about what's right. That's something that Tom Peters wrote years ago. That represents the evolution, the maturity of an influential leader. Self-centered leaders tend to blame and deflect because it strikes at their ego. The idea that I made a mistake strikes at my ego. And so the natural response, which doesn't mean you're a bad person, it means that when we do this, this is the natural human response, is to deflect that off to somebody else. Service-centered leaders, though, do the opposite. They own those mistakes. They own the criticism. They believe in the idea that basically every problem in their organization is their responsibility. That is the level of ownership that they take, is that every problem that exists in my organization is basically a reflection of me, specifically every negative attitude that exists, right? There are some problems that you did not cause, but the attitude that my team has around problems is directly a reflection of my attitude about how I go about solving problems. And that is like taking an extreme level of ownership. That is what influential leaders do. Self-centered leaders will use circumstances as excuses. Service-centered leaders use circumstances as opportunities. These are chances to serve other people. These are chances to step up and solve problems. But I have to mature to the point that I'm outside of what's convenient for me, what is easy for me, and I have to evolve to going, okay, how can I help solve this problem for another person? Self-centered leaders lift themselves up. Service-centered leaders lift others up. One of my favorite analogies for this comes from my friend Ron Marks, who talks about, when you're a performer, it's all about being in the spotlight. And you win awards and incentive trips, and you get promotions, and you make more money, and you break records. Like as a performer, you're trying to be in the spotlight. But as a leader, as an influential leader, you go from trying to be in the spotlight to becoming the spotlight operator. You're the one behind the spotlight, and you're redirecting the spotlight on other people, because that's what leadership is developing these other people. And that's kind of how we have to think about it. That's an evolution, especially for someone like me who is such an achiever. It was really hard to make that transformation. Self-centered leaders want more respect. They care very deeply about what other people think about them. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just becomes a limiting thing as a leader. What service-centered leaders want is more results. They want more results for other people, more results for the organization. It's an evolution. It's a shedding of the ego. Self-centered leaders, and by the way, this is how we can tell, this checklist, by the way, this is how we determine who we're going to invest in and who we're going to promote and who we're going to spend time developing as leaders, is this checklist. It's very easy. It's actually pretty easy to spot who is still living this self-centered skin versus who has the default more of the service-centered leader. Self-centered leaders get defensive when things go wrong. Service-centered leaders, they admit when things go wrong. Why? Because they don't care about they don't care about getting more respect. They just want to do what the right thing is. So they don't take it personal when it goes wrong, because it's not about what do people think about them. It's just about helping the team succeed. They're shedding their own need for their own ego, which you see a lot of this is built around ego. A lot of this is built around team. Self-centered leaders take credit. Service-centered leaders, they don't care about credit because they care about what's doing right for the team. So they share credit. Self-centered leaders go alone. Service-centered leaders go with a team. One of my favorite leadership lessons, this is an African proverb. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a team. If you want to go fast, just go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go with a team. And going with a team sometimes means slowing down a little. You got to slow down because it takes time to bring other people with you, but you go farther. In the long term, you go much farther. Self-centered leaders are proud. Service-centered leaders are humble. Self-centered leaders point out problems, right? And they're good at identifying problems. Why? Because they're achievers. And so anything that gets in their way, they immediately recognize and they point it out. Why? Because they resent the fact that there is a problem, because that problem is holding them back from where they want to go. And I would say, again, it's not necessarily that it is a bad thing, but I would say it is a sign of immaturity as a leader. A mature leader will be in some ways grateful for these immature leaders because they can count on these people to point out the problems. The real balance, though, is to not take it personal, to not get defensive, and just be grateful for the fact that someone is pointing out the problems. Even though you're going to feel like you're under attack, you need to go, it's not about me. I don't care if I'm under attack. In fact, guess what? Being the leader means you're under attack constantly. That's what being a leader is. You're under attack because every problem that exists because of you. It is your problem. It is your fault. It is your obligation and responsibility to solve. So you will feel like you're under attack. Guess what? Welcome to the club. Like, this is what it means to be an influential leader. If you're not under attack, it's because you're not leading. It's because no one is looking to you to help solve problems. But influential leaders don't spend much time on the problem. Influential leaders immediately move to offering solutions. Self-centered leaders react. Service-centered leaders respond. Self-centered leaders protect themselves. Service-centered leaders protect the team. We're going to talk about this here in just a little while when we talk about our words. But if somebody is operating in self-preservation, it is a sign that they have a lot of developing to do to become a leader. Again, it's not bad or wrong. It's very natural. It just means they haven't yet developed to become an influential leader. It's part of the journey. You have to become a high achiever, which means you have to be a driver, which means you have to achieve, focus. But then what got you here as a performer won't get you there as a leader. So all of us, no matter where we're at on the journey, can have perspective and grace. We can have grace for others and grace for ourselves, right? To go, yeah, I am under attack all the time. No wonder I'm defensive. But you know what? I shouldn't be defensive. They're not attacking me. They're helping me understand what needs to happen to get the team to the next level. And for that, I should be grateful. If I am taking it defensively, I am being self-centered. Defensiveness and taking things personal is a sign of self-centeredness. I am internalizing what people are saying as an attack on me. If I am operating in a service-centered, influential leader mindset, I am simply processing what they are saying as input to help me move the entire team forward. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's simple, though. This is extremely difficult. This is a very rare level of air that someone gets to. That's why we're talking about this with you, and we're not doing this program in front of the entire organization. Only a very small percentage of people will ever get to the level that we can even have this transparent conversation, because for some people, the fact that I'm saying the things I'm saying, they're taking them personal because I'm saying them, right? And it wouldn't be wrong to do that. It would be natural. I would take it the same way. And that is something that I realize is that, oh my gosh, I am constantly protecting myself, and I need to move to protecting the team. And if I'm protecting the team, that means I'm protecting the other leaders. I'm protecting my partners. I'm protecting my colleagues. I'm protecting my customers. Rather than self-preservation, it's team preservation, which leads us to the next telltale sign of self-centered leaders versus service-centered leaders. Self-centered leaders are emotionally volatile. Service-centered leaders are emotionally stable. Why? Now, by the way, all of these are kind of like a little bit of generalizations, right? It's not 100% perfect. But people who take things personal respond emotionally because it feels like an attack on me personally. And so my response is emotional. It's very vibrant and visceral because it's like you're attacking me. An influential leader has enough perspective to know when they're giving me feedback, it's not about me, it's just about the state of things. It means they trust me enough to try to help them resolve something. And even if they're coming at it in an immature way, it's my responsibility to process that in a mature fashion and to maintain stability. Part of it is just accepting the idea that your job as a leader is constantly solving problems, constantly dealing with challenges, and constantly catering to people. I mean, that is what makes a leader, is the ability to navigate people and personalities in conflict and challenges. And if your problems are getting bigger, it's because you're getting stronger as a leader. And that is just, we got to give ourselves the perspective. But this is what real leadership looks like, to lead by example.